Files. To get to AppFiles, the easiest is through your My H&R Office. Log into your My H&R Office, and under the hamburger dropdown, you can get to AppFiles. It'll prompt you with this window, and you click here to continue, and you log in. Okay, so make sure you have your username and password, your email address, and the password that your staff has provided to you. All right, so this is your primary window for AppFiles. It's very simple. It's not overwhelming. Do not be afraid of it. Super simple. At the very top, you have your home button, which brings you back to this window. Your next button is your My AppFiles. When you click on it, it is all of your current AppFiles that you are working with. Okay, I'm going to say this numerous times. Naming conventions are extremely important. If you're using your naming convention as the listing itself, the address, make sure it's in there, and I'll show you where to edit that because it's so much easier to search. So these are my current AppFiles. Your next tab at the top is your signature request. So when you send out a signature request through AppFiles, you can track the status of your signature request. You can see how many are still needing to be signed. You can also resend it if someone says that they have not received it. And you can also cancel a signature request. And I'll go, yes.
How does this compare to DocuSign?
Compared to DocuSign, from what I understand, the major difference is the order of how you send this. So if you have a husband and wife that you need to have signatures, you have to send them separately for signature request, which is kind of a plus too, because you can track the individual. So you can say, hey, Mary, I've noticed your husband Keith needs to sign his documentation. So that's the major difference that I've seen in the signature request side.
Thank you.
That's what DocuSign does. Are
Well,
you saying the different that I'm confused? Which one?
So the order, they're sent separately, so they're not stacked together and they have to go in order, if that makes sense.
In this system, they have to go in order.
No, in this system, they're separate. You send them separately.
So if I have 3 people that need to sign, I have to send it 3 different times?
Yeah, but it's a very quick process. I'll show you. It's a very, very quick process.
But do you program it all at once? See, in DocuSign, you put in John, Mary, and Susan, so to speak. And then once John signs, it automatically goes to Mary, and then it automatically goes to Susan. You set the order.
So these are going at the same time. It's just the process of setting up the signature. You set up Susan, you go through the steps to send her a signature request, and then next you do Keith and you send the signature request. So they can literally sign it at any, like on their own timeline. It's not so much in an order.
So Keith can sign before Susan.
Exactly.
And there's no control button that if you, like DocuSign gives you the option. You can either send it to everybody, they can sign it whenever they get it, or you can number it and send it. It doesn't go to the next person until after it goes to number 1 and 2. And so yeah. This does not have that capability?
That's right. It's just straight up signature request to Susan, signature request to Keith.
Okay.
It's very straightforward.
Limited. Okay. All right.
All right. So this was your window for tracking your signature request. Your next option is your My Inbox, which you will probably not be using because in the settings, we will be using a spoof. So what it does when you receive emails involving AppFiles, it will go to your Harry Norman email, which you're more likely to check more than this. Next option is your activity. Your activity is all of the statuses and the things that you're doing throughout your AppFiles, like submitting documentation or emailing it to a contact or changing a status of an app file to new pending. This is basically your journal of what's going on. Your next option is your task. Now, tasks are when you need, it's basically like a request system. This is more, in my opinion, tied to your staff members. So for instance, if you're missing a certain documentation in your AppFiles when you submit it, this would be where where a staff member would send you a task saying, hey, Susan, I've noticed that you're missing this document. So this is their kind of interaction. Every office is different. I'll harp on that continuously with AppFiles because each transaction coordinator, office manager has their own system. So take the basics of this class, check with your office manager, and make sure that y'all are on the same page. That's my major recommendation. All right, so that's new task. And so back to the home window, you'll notice that everything kind of repeats itself. On your right side, your recent new app files is very similar to my app files. Your center here is your activity, which is right here. Your task is up here at the top. It's basically just reiterating what your top bar is. So for every time someone tells me they got overwhelmed by the opening window of app files, I just remind them everything is just being repeated. Okay? So my last class, I didn't touch on settings, and someone mentioned that it would be a good idea to touch on settings. So I'm going to go over that quickly. Because most of the time when you had your settings set up with AppFiles, it was done when you first came in with Harry Norman. So it wouldn't hurt anything to check to make sure your settings are right. So to do so, on your far left at the top here, under settings, you can just check down this line of your settings. So make sure your display name is your name. Make sure your user photo is your photo, which is pretty simple. You just click on the browse button and you can grab it from your desktop. You can get that from your marketing coordinator or office staff. They usually have your headshots from Katie Weeks or whoever's taking the photos. Usually it's Katie. So you can browse, upload it. If you need to update it, it'd be a good opportunity to update your headshot if you got a new one like myself. Next is your email address settings. So this is what I was talking about earlier about the inbox. We recommend selecting the spoof your email address by sending via AppFiles. What this does is instead it sends it to your primary email right here, which is so much easier, honestly. So you know you'll get it because you're more likely to check your Harry Norman email. Another thing is copy my primary email address on all emails sent through AppFiles. That's a recommendation. It's totally up to you. I always feel that when you send out documentation, you should get a copy just to know that it's processed and when it hit. I also recommend following up with text messages. There's nothing wrong with that. They're your contacts. The next item up here on the left side is your email footer. Okay, your email footer is your signature on your documents and your your emails out through AppFiles. It's a very simple process to update this right here. Okay, all you have to do is copy this email address right here by clicking the button. Let's see if I can get into my email real quick. This is not Harry Norman. Should have had this window ready. I apologize. I want to show an example and I can do it really quick. Okay. Sorry about this. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Okay. To update this signature in your settings, your footer, you're going to have your email with your signature in the email, like so. I recommend deleting the space above it so it's clean. You're going to send just your signature to that email address that is on this window, okay? So if you have any additions to your signature, for instance, you have a new accreditation, you have a new cell phone number, you've relocated to a new office at Harry Norman, whatever it may be, come in here, copy this email address that's right here, and send a signature, your signature, to that email address, and the subject line can be signature. And just hit send. Simple as that. I'm going to hit send. Oh, I had another one open. And you'll notice that when you refresh this, so I'm going to close this and I'm going to refresh it, my window, go back into settings. Oops, and my footer has been updated. You can do this as many times as you want. I hear people say it all the time that they want to make a quick change to their signature. This is how you do it. Last thing, default mobile view. I recommend on this left side, selecting full desktop view. Most people are going to be using your app files in your computer on your browser, so I recommend full desktop view. These are totally just recommendations. This is coming from office managers and throughout this company, so just words of advice. Do I have any questions about the settings? Okay, it was mostly a refresher anyway, I know. So, all right. The next thing I want to cover, which is extremely important, AppFiles is all about pre-filling in information. Any chance that you have to put information in, do it. If it's a night with a glass of wine and you're just getting caught up knocking out a whole bunch of pages with extra information, this is where you could do it. Under the Form Values tab, you'll notice in this dropdown, they're all of the in-house and forms, GAR forms that you work with. It's a one-time fill-in, right? So for instance, under F110, which is your buyer brokerage, if you select it, this will be the form that when you bring it into your app file, you can have it pre-filled in. Take away all those steps, take away that step, right? Okay, so like for instance, on 6 of 10, I know when I scroll down, you could pre-fill in some special stipulations that you currently use repetitively, whether it's a termite bond or something like that, you could already have it in here. But an easy one is your actual contact information as an agent. That way you don't have to write it every time. Okay, easy, click on the line, type it in. You do not have to hit save. Okay, you just close the window and this information will stay in your form values. So like I said, this is a one-time thing, glass of wine, purchase and sale, buyer brokerage agreement. Think of all the documentation that you repetitively use and go ahead and fill in that information. These are called form values. Okay. So these are your one-off opportunities, right? Now you know the navigation of the window of AppFiles. Your settings are checked. You're up to date. You got a new headshot. You've got your signature in. Checkpoints. Next, your form values. Fill in whatever you can just to go ahead and have information in place so that you don't have to write it again. You can also print blank forms here as well if you need a print blank form. It's over here on the left side that says print blank forms. It allows you to download a PDF or just go straight into printing. All right, before I go into an app file itself, do I have any questions before I move on? Okay.
Yeah, Drew,
Yes.
Neely here. I seem to have problems with my signature. It just bunches up all together when I send it.
Are you using Outlook or are you using email.harrynorman.com?
Outlook.
Try email.harrynorman.com. Browsers work more efficiently with stuff like this.
Okay.
I recommend it.
So I just send it via the
Just yeah, use email.harrynorman Outlook right like this right here. Create a new message. Make sure your signature is the way you want it, and send that to that email address.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Great question. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close my email because it's dinging like crazy. I'm sorry, y'all. All right. That would drive me crazy after a while. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start by creating an app file. All right. Every time you meet with a contact, the moment you have your interaction, you should create an app file for them. And you can name it their name until the address has been determined until anything needs to be changed. But for that moment, that person is your contact and your client. So over here on my left side in the green text is create new app file. In this window, you are literally naming a folder for your contact. An app file is every bit of documentation you need for a transaction. Okay? Anything that needs to be in there, that's what an app file is. So I'm going to start off by naming this, oops, goodness, got a lot of different names I've used over time, right? I'm going to name it, let's go with Eric Clapton today. You'll notice I love to use musician names, so.
Drew,
Yes.
if you already know the address, why do you need to use a different name?
This is literally because of the fact that I do not know what Eric wants to buy just yet.
Oh,
If you know the address already and your client says, hey, I want to buy 123 Dream Street, go ahead and put it in there. There's nothing
Gotcha.
wrong with that. Yeah. Yeah. That's a dream situation, John. Now I'm going to choose the file type. Eric's going to be my buyer. Oops. I'm going to change it to a buyer status. All right. When I choose buyer, these open up, these fields. As I told you in the beginning, the more you can fill in, the better, right? The more you can fill in, the better. So if you can put in your name or any information, like you said, if you already know the address, go ahead and put the FMLS number in. Pre-fill in as much as you possibly can, because these items will be great when you import values into documentation. And I'll go over importing values soon. So once again, pre-fill in your information. Eric is my buyer. I'm going to say next. All right. So this is your select users tab. This is when you're a part of a team, or if you have somebody that will be covering the listing with you from your office. The reason why you do this, say for instance, I need Adam. Adam's on my team and he needs to see when things are happening in app files, or he needs to interact with my app file. You click on the plus symbol and Adam has now been added as a user. You can add an individual later on. This is just the first step of getting someone on this. Your staff members are right here as users, but they only know about they can only interact with your app files when you submit it. Okay, and I will show you how to submit. So this is your initial, Eric, buyer. I'll take off Adam so he doesn't get confused. We're probably wondering why some agent name H&R Trainer is adding him to an app file. And now I'm just going to create my app file. All right, pretty simple, right? I had my contact. I created a blank app file. I don't have a ton of information on this person just yet, but I will. The first thing that I need to do is get used to adding forms. Okay, adding forms is the documents that AppFiles has saved in it already. Those pre-filled items we went to earlier, these form values, we need to add forms. So over on the top left, I'm going to click Add Forms. Okay, and the first item I want to use, I want to add my buyer brokerage. I just typed in the search line buyer. My buyer brokerage is right here, F110. And I'm going to add my selected form. Just as easy as that. That is the process of adding forms. This item has my information pre-filled on 610. See all that information that I filled in advance? It's already here. So that's the value in doing your form values. Okay, so I've got my buyer brokerage. I've filled it all in, all the information's here, and I need to send for a request signature. Okay, right here in the middle, there's a blue button. It says request signature. When I click on it, this option comes up. It's going to start the signature request. This is the first signature request, right? When you click on it, this process, you'll notice it has to be done for each individual. So if it's a couple purchasing a home, this is my first buyer's signature. So I'm going to put in Eric's name. Now, if it's a junior or the second or the third, make sure you have that in this signer full name. It's very important. As you can tell right here, make sure it's the single individual's full correct name that they're going to be signing on. Next, I'm going to select buyer signature for my first buyer signature. Okay, and I'm going to click next. Now for this is your brokerage engagement date, time. Since we're working with the buyer, of course, we hope that your relationship's strong enough that you don't have to set a timeline for them, but you can. I'm not going to select this since I'm working with a buyer. Click next, and here is your signature request email that will be going to Eric. Okay, pretty simple. I'm going to type in, I'll just put my email in here, but you would put in Eric's, oh, I just lost his N by pressing back. You put in your email address, you have your window here. You can edit this window, just stay away from this. That is the actual link for the signature. So if you want, instead of it saying, please review the document at the link below, if you want to say, you know, Eric, I had a great day checking out listings, getting to know you as a person. Here's the link for my buyer brokerage. Could you please sign this documentation? However you want to do it. After you scroll down a little bit, you can hit next. This is where that user would be on. So if I had kept Bill or whoever on here, they could be here and at least see the actual signature request go out. That's what that would be.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Of course.
When you put in the information like the buyer's name, the buyer's email and everything, when you get to this, it hasn't auto-populated when you click on buyer, even though you put the buyer's name. You've got to re-enter that stuff, right?
Well, no, well, you
All right,
just,
all right, I'm used to DocuSign. So
Oh.
what I do in DocuSign is I put in a name, I put in an email, and what? When I click on buyer's name, all that pops up immediately because it references back to the address. But in this, at every step, like when I get to signature here, I've got to put, and I say Eric Clapton, who lives at 1234 Main, I've got to put his email in again, even though I've already put his email in the profile.
yeah, you need to put the, yes, you're right.
Okay.
You have to
Okay.
input the email. Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'm going to hit request signature. And so now one active signature has been requested. And see, this is the different part. Now, if you want Susan Clapton, you need to start a signature request again, but this time select buyer signature 2.
Hey, Drew, correct me if I'm wrong. Wouldn't, to kind of help answer her question, wouldn't it also be in the drop down when you go to click on the email, there's a little drop down spot right there?
I think if you've input it, here. Let's see. See, if you used it previously, you're right.
Yeah, it would be. That's how I do it as well. It's always in the drop down because it will be saved.
Yeah, if it will be saved. If you used it previously, then yes, it would be.
Yeah.
And I don't know if adding new email here would keep it as a potential signing option, or if that's for users. But I know if you've used it once, it does populate in the dropdown.
Okay, thank you.
Drew,
Yes.
what if you wanted to also send some other documents to the buyer with this document?
Okay. So are you talking about merging it in?
Right, because in our docs, I could send maybe ABCs of agency with it,
Yes.
which they don't have to sign,
No.
but how would I put that with that document? That, and it doesn't need to be signed, but I still want it to go with it, let's say.
Okay. Well, let me add. So what I'm doing now is I went back to, excuse me, I kind of moved along. I can answer that question. Add form values. I typed in ABC to grab that document. I'm going to select it. I'm going to add that selected form. Okay. So now I have I have my buyer brokerage and the ABC of agency.
I go back over that. So even though you've already sent out the request for them to sign that document, you were able to go in and put extra documents in.
So what I was trying to answer it after I did the signature request. I could cancel the signature request right here. Let me refresh this window. I could come here to the signature request, scroll down to Eric Clapton and cancel that signature request, and then add that document to it and merge that document in, and then resend it.
But you also can send them individually for signature, right?
Absolutely. I could send the document by itself too. I could click on this. I mean, this is kind of getting out of my structure over here.
Well, in our docs, you could do that. You could add, like you got the, again, disclosures if you're a buyer's agent and you've got disclosures from the seller, then you would want to upload those into a system so you could send them to review. Well, you could do that by email, but when it's time for there to sign them, when you're doing a contract, how do you do that with this system? Because you could do that with our docs.
Well, I mean, you would just, so I've added another document. I've got my buyer's brokerage agreement. I can click to merge paperwork here, right here on this left side, and combine the two documents together. Oops, refreshing. Like that. I've just selected my two documents, merged my selected documents, and now I can send for a signature request.
Drew, I think she's asking, how do you upload a PDF that
Oh,
is in here?
I just haven't gotten to that step yet.
All right.
I thought she was more trying to figure out how to merge documents and send for signature.
Drew,
Well, both.
Oh, okay, both.
Drew, I got a
Yes.
question. This
course.
is Marty Johnson. Okay, so when you merge that, then all of a sudden under your general paperwork, those two now have a different name. I mean, you just have it as an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, even if you have the ABCs in that.
Yes.
Okay,
If I split them back apart, they would get back their names they originally had.
correct. Okay, because like when I do my buyer brokerage and my ABCs, I do have my people initial each of those disclosures. I have them initial the top part of the ABCs, the top part of buyer beware, blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
And is that where I can add where it says initial now? Can I add those initials somewhere?
Well, let me go back through my steps because I'm kind of jumping around from the structure of the class, because it does answer everything y'all are asking. It really does, I promise. I love that y'all are trying to figure this out. That's what's so great about it. Let me go back to the forms. I do go over how to add elements like what you're asking, adding an initial element. So let me get to that, Marty. Thank you, though. All right, so my next item that I'm going to cover, going back to my my list here, I'm going to add the forms for my purchase and sale. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a secondary document that will be combined with it in this motion. So when you select multiple items in this moment, when I'm adding forms, they will be combined, just so you know. So purchase and sale, and say I want to use a conventional loan contingency. So now these two documents on my right side will be one item, just like what I did to merge that original. So now they're together. I can split them up later on though, that's not a problem. So I'm gonna hit add selected forms.
Drew, quick question. Can we rearrange those?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's an easy, okay.
Yeah,
all
it's easy. I'll cover that in just a second.
Don't worry about it. Okay, just as long as I know we can. All right. All
I've
right.
got y'all covered. So I've added these 2 documents. I'm making sure I've got everything here. Yes, so I've added these documents. They're in. Now, one thing I want to make sure that I've covered with y'all is now that I have my purchase and sale in, importing values is so important, okay? You've noticed in the sales meeting this week, we talked about how the DPN is now a new form that you can import values in AppFiles. And the reason why that's such a big deal is it's cutting out a ton of steps, okay? So you can import values from 3 different areas. You can import the values from Fmls, the listing itself. You can import from forms, and you can also import from file information fields, okay? Forms are your other items that are in, let me close this up here, in your form values. So say if you have a purchase and sale and you're trying to import values from your buyer brokerage agreement because it's the right information, you can do that. Okay, it's other documents you're grabbing values from. Another option, of course, is file information, which is over here on your right. Now, they've been changing the name of these items lately because they've been working on it, but right now they've got it back to what it originally was, which is the master buyer template. Okay, let me move a window real quick. I don't normally teach this part of the class because it's a little bit more advanced, but I find it to be so important personally. Your master buyer template has so much information here. Your listing agent information, your Harry Norman office, all of this information is right here under the master buyer template. Okay, so if I originally meet with a contact and I start getting their information, I get their buyer name, their email address, I start getting their phone number, all this stuff, you can import this information from here onto all of your documents. So you don't have to write it every time. I think I just got a raised hand real quick.
Yeah, that's me, hey, Drew.
Hey, Doug.
Second week here, I'm going to ask a stupid question. What is a DPN?
DPN is the accounting form that turns in at the end of the transaction.
Okay, so that's something unique to us, H&R. Okay.
Yeah, some staff members get more involved in the DPN form. Some fill them in for you, or sometimes you fill it in and they can finalize it. You know, I'll show it to you real quick if you'd like an example.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit add forms again. It's actually the very first thing here at the top, new DPN property information form. You've probably seen this before, Doug. It looks like this. This is like your submission form to accounting at the end of the transaction. But the cool thing about it is if you've gone in and you've gone to your master buyer template and you filled in all of the information on your contact, all of this stuff is going to pre-fill in. So you really don't have to do much. That's what's so great about AppFiles. So I'm going to give you a quick example and I'm going to edit my master buyer template just to show you how these values import.
How did you get to the master file?
Of course, it's over on your right side over here, right here. It's your file information. And when you click on edit, any of these edits bring up the same window. So I'm going to click on master buyer template and I'm going to fill in my information right here. Okay. So let me scroll down. Like for instance, listing broker firm name. It's an easy one. Harry Norman Realtors. I hate having to move this window. Virtual classes. The address, you know, I can just do 555 just so y'all show you how this information populates. Okay. All right, so I filled in the information. This is just an example. I'm going to close it out. And you'll notice my master buyer template over here now has new information in it. So this is information that I can import into my documents and AppFiles. Very straightforward. It's just extra information that you can continuously use throughout your app file. Okay, another area that you could fill in to get values from is up here on your listing, or not your listing, but your app file information to begin with, up here on the edit. Remember this window from the very beginning when we created the app file? If you have new information now, you can fill it in. If you have the FMLS number for the listing you're planning to pursue, you can put it in. If you have a closing date, you can go ahead and have all that added in. So this is just values, okay? Just want to make sure the perspective's there. So I'm going to open up my purchase and sale. Now that I've shown you where all this data is coming from, and I'm going to start an import values. Okay, remember what I told you earlier? You can import values from a form, info fields, and FMLS. So you don't have to write it. It's a one-time write-in. Okay, I'm going to start off with forms. When you click on this option, you will see the forms, those forms that I filled in advance under my form values. I have 11 values I can grab that I don't have to write in. So I'm going to choose them and I'm going to say, yep. And it will show you what's going to be coming into your app file. And then you start the import. Just as simple as that. I grabbed 11 items to be pulled into this document. So that's one way of importing values. Another way you can do it is you can import from info fields, which I just showed you, that master buyer template on the right side. That is considered an info field. There's also lender information that you can pre-fill in if you're working with Prosperity Mortgage. And say, for instance, I've got Justine in here. I fill in Justine's information, her email, her phone number. I can grab that information and have it populated into my document as well. So it's a nice option. I'm going to click on import from info fields, and you'll notice, see how I have it? I have my master buyer template I was working on. There's 6 values that it can grab right off the bat. I'm just going to go ahead and say yes. There they are. Now I did kind of use bogus phone numbers, so there might be a little bit of conflict, but I want to start import. And there you go. These items will be pulled into my document so I don't have to fill it in. It's very quick, very quick. It's very easy to get that information in. The next item, and last but not least, is your FMLS. So I have an example listing that I'm going to be using today on John Wesley. I'm going to import the information from John Wesley into my app file. I click here. All it's asking is that FMLS number. I put it in. I click search. There's John Wesley. I'm going to choose it. And now all of these values of that listing is going to be pulled in to the document. If there's anything that's conflicting, like lot size or something like that, uncheck it on the left side so it doesn't come in. That's just advice from working with agents on AppFiles. If there's anything that's being conflicting, or there's any kind of factor involved, just deselect it. When you get down to the bottom, you say, I acknowledge the data coming in, and I start my import. So right there, I have imported values from 3 different areas. I recommend when you get into your app file, try them out, test them out, see how they work. Use an example listing, pull that data in, see how it drops into your form. It really does make life really easy and quick, very, very quick.
Drew,
Click done, and you'll notice that the purchase and sale now has the information from John Wesley in it, plus my information that I've pre-filled in. Yes.
Drew, this is Isabel. So when and this is very helpful, but I've also put form values in my original documents already, in the beginning. So there's some double dipping going on here right now, right?
Well, if it's your personal information that is correct, there shouldn't be any conflict, like your phone number, your email address should be right. So That's just something to think about. Mine's wrong because I just went really quickly through it, but yours will always be right because it's the right information as you as an agent.
Okay.
Yes,
Drew,
Marty?
it's Marty. Hey, real quick. So let's just say you did all that and now you're in the purchase sale agreement, but you realize, I don't want some of that information. Can I just erase it right now? Ah, good. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
The reason why you're using import values is because it's so quick. Now, over here on your right side, using this master buyer template, it's giving you information that you can quickly just drop in. And yes, if you need to edit, you can. It's more about you saving time. Hey, Susan.
Hey, quick question. So there's the master buyer template, and then there's the other place with buyer seller information. Do we have to fill out both locations, or can we just now use master buyer template?
It's whatever works best for you, Susan. I personally am a fan of using the master buyer template because of how much more information is available to put in. And it's all in one place.
Yeah.
Same with the lender information over here. I mean, you click at lender information, you put in your lender's information, that can be another item to grab. I mean, you can't beat that. If I was an agent, I would literally come over here the moment I meet Blake. Blake, great. Let me come over here to the master buyer side and fill in everything I know about Blake, knowing that I'm just going to import those values to my forms later on, you know, just cut out all that minutia. So great question though. Yeah. Whatever works best for you. I'm a huge advocate of the master buyer template, and they might be renaming it just to keep that in the back of your head. I've heard them say they might name it DPN template or something. So and we'll announce it of course, but yeah, but master buyer's what it is now. Yes. Hey, Marie.
Real quick. Okay, so if I've got like 3 different lenders or 4 different lenders that I use, I can, I do 4 different lender things and then I pick the one that's going to go with that person, or do I have to, how do I do that?
Well, so I mean, if say for instance, you're working with Eric and you know you're going to use Prosperity Mortgage, just go ahead and click here, edit, add Prosperity Mortgage. A lot of times it's based on the person you're going to work with anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I teach an advanced class where I go over creating a template where, so for instance, if I'm a guy who always uses Prosperity Mortgage, I make a template where I have that already filled in and my information filled in, so that all I do is I copy the template because it's all already there, you know. But check that, it's a video that's on my YouTube channel for H&R Trainer. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Hey, John.
If, say for instance, I leased a property a year ago and that's expired and I'm leasing it to a new person, can I use the FMLS number from the old listing to fill in the forms for the new one?
Yeah, honestly, you could, because what it's doing is it's just bringing in values that's true about the listing, of course.
Yeah, it's all the same information.
Yeah, of course.
Same for the lease, right?
As long as it recognizes it, that it's in the system, yeah, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure it recognizes it. By putting in the FMLS number, you can tell whether it recognizes it or not.
Right.
Cool. That's a great question. All right, let's get back to this.
Drew, isn't that copy app file when you do that? It's a advanced thing when you copy the app file. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, you could also copy the whole app file, but the problem with that is there's probably some signed documentation in there, so you'd have to remove a lot.
Oh, okay, got it.
That's one way of thinking, but yeah, over here on the right side of the window, you could always hit the button that says copy this app file and then rename the name of the app file. But just remember, if there's signed documentation and it needs to be out of there. So I personally wouldn't recommend it because from what I remember, if it's a signed document, it's very hard to remove other than by an admin.
Yeah.
So just keep that in the back of your mind. But yeah, importing values, that would be a smart way to handle it, John.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Next. Okay, well, let's go into what we were talking earlier. We need to add an initial line to a document. We need to add elements, okay? I'm gonna bring up this, let's see. Let me see if I've skipped a step, I'm sorry. There's been some really good questions, so I've kind of bumped around my normal order.
How about upload a file like a PDF that
Okay,
I happen to have?
I like that better. All right, so let's start off with the listing first. So I'm working with a buyer. We're interested in pursuing John Wesley, okay? John Wesley has documents tied to it. I need to get these documents for this listing into my app file, okay? And that'll cover how to upload. When you click on this documents, oops, I must have logged out of FMLS. Sorry, must have just timed me out. Go back to the listing, get back to the documents. Okay, so I click on documents. It's going to take me to our docs currently, okay? When it fully switches over to Remind, Remind has their own version of this, okay? But the one thing I want to get y'all to understand is there is a feature that will no longer work from here, okay? So I have my documentation. Let me make this a little bit larger so y'all can see it. So I have my documentation for this listing, and there's two different ways to get my documents into my app file, okay? One, I'll start off with, I'm gonna select one item. Up here at the top, you can email or print, okay? This is my way of downloading this document. So I'm gonna select print with the intent to download. Okay, so my window comes up. Can you see the COVID form in front of me? Over here on the top right, there's a download option. I click download, and I'm going to save it on my desktop, and I'm going to name it COVID. Okay, so that now, Jeff, gives me that document to upload, okay? That was my intent for this. So now I have a PDF on my desktop that needs to be added to my app file by upload. I will go back to my Eric Clapton app file, and there's an option here that says upload files. I'm going to click on this option. I'm going to come down and I'm going to browse to go grab that PDF that I just saved to my desktop. Now it could be anything. It could be floor plans that someone sent you and it's just sitting on your desk. You need to grab this document. So I'm going to click browse, and I'm going to go and grab my COVID form that's sitting on my desktop, and I'm going to click open to upload to app file. And I'm going to start my upload. Okay, it confirms that it's completely uploaded. I say okay, and you'll see on the left side now there's uploaded paperwork. So that's one way of doing this. Now this will be a very important way of uploading documents when this is switched to Remind, okay? It's a very important thing to know. Now, my favorite way to get documents into app files is tied to this right here. In the center of your app file, you have an email that's attached to this specific app file, okay? So if someone sends you documentation, like I said, a floor plan or blueprints or whatever, you can forward that email from your contact directly into an app file using this email address right here. It's pretty awesome. You can also edit it as well. There's a blue button right here that says edit. If you don't want it to be 9656 and you'd rather it say Eric C instead, you can do that. You can save the changes so it's easier to remember. I know several agents save this email address in their phone with their contact, just so they have it on demand. Just something to think about, put it in their notes on your phone. So I'm going to copy this email address because I want to use the other way of getting documents into app files. So I come back here to RDocs, and you'll notice that I have these last few documents I need to get into this app file. Instead of choosing print, I'm going to use email. I'm going to email all of these documents through FMLS into app files. Okay, when I select the email option, you'll notice here are all the documents that were left to upload. You scroll down a little bit, it says enter recipient. I'm going to paste that email address I just got. Okay, It needs to be an email address though, y'all. So I'm going to get rid of the bracket and Eric's name in front of it. So that is only an email address. Everybody understand what I just did? I copied an email address that's tied to the app file. I'm pasting it into this option to email my documents from Fmls into AppFile. And I'm going to click send. I don't have to hit a subject name. I just hit send. And now these documents have now been emailed into my app files. Pretty cool way to handle it, honestly. Can't really beat it. I'll come back to my app files. Let me see. It might take a few minutes for it to fully process because it's very much email or internet reliant. Nope, not that bad. It's all right there. That was quick. That's actually the quickest those documents have ever emailed into an app file. So here are all my documents I just emailed in. So 2 things I just covered: uploading documents, emailing documents into my app file. Do I have any questions on this? Yes.
Drew, okay. So, you know, when I use, because I love our docs, but it is what it is. And I've used AppFiles enough to kind of understand where you're going. So when I'm doing any kind of PDFs and I want to put in my AppFiles, I'll have already copied that so that I just hit like the address and it pops up. So it goes straight to AppFiles. But from here, if I'm on FMLS and we do want to transfer those particular documents, then I will have had to go back to this to my email on Harry Norman and copy that email so that I can interject these, correct? I mean, or are you saying that when you typed in from the documents on FMLS, did you already have that Eric C kind of memorized, but you had to come back into AppFiles, or you had to go to your email to copy it?
I've got you, Marty. No, so what I did before I sent it over, this copy button right here, I had already hit copy. I had the checkbox already ready. And so that when I went to my RDocs items, I selected them, went ahead and hit email, and scrolled down and just pasted.
Got it.
That's what I did. I had already hit that. Sorry, I might have did that a little quick, but I had already copied that email address.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to get used to not using RDocs at all, so that AppFiles becomes my everything, and then that way I can go back and forth a lot quicker. It's just okay.
You'll get the swing of it. I mean, you know, by the end of this class, I always tell people, if you don't have a current listing that you're working with in AppFiles, pretend you're selling your own home or buying your own home. Go through your step process, load your documents in, fill in your information. And what you can do is, by the end of it, you could submit it to your staff member and meet with them and say, hey, did I do this correctly? Is this everything you needed in AppFiles? So checkpoints are so important with this. So, but yeah, make it your primary, because once you make it your primary, there's nothing else to worry about. It's the only thing you can use. So, like I was telling you how people were submitting their taxes. So,
thank you very much.
No, not a problem. Seriously. So now we've covered uploading, we've covered emailing documents into AppFiles. The next thing I want to cover is adding elements to a document, which all of y'all have done. Whether it's adding, like you said, adding an initial item to pages, that is absolutely what you can do. I'm going to bring up my legal description as my example. I'm just going to click on it. And so my goal is to add a few elements to this item, whether it means renaming the exhibit, adding an initial, striking through something, adding a signature. With this document, I'm going to click this edit button for this document. For this page, this document, I'm going to hit edit. It's going to ask me to convert it because it's a PDF and it probably was scanned in. So I'm going to hit start conversion. God, this coffee is really good today. Put that over there. All right, so when I did the conversion, you'll notice that this general bar has shown up on your left side. These are your elements to add, okay? You can add text box, you can add a paragraph, checkbox, you can add initials, signature, you can do single line strike through, multiple line strike through, circling. So it has those options to use. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to choose text to add. I'm just selecting it and bringing my cursor to the document, and I'm clicking down. It's adding an element. So instead of exhibit A, say I want to make it exhibit B. Okay, so I'm adding text, create, and now the text is right here. To move this item, I click on it once, and now I can move it wherever I want. Also, when you click on it once, you can change the element properties, whether it be the font, bold, whatever you need to do, and you can also delete the element. So it's easy to drop and remove and make slight edits to. So say I've added exhibit B, then the next thing I need to do is I need to strike through that exhibit A. So down here at the bottom left, I'm going to add a single line strike through and click down. That's all I did. I chose the strike, I clicked down, and it added it. Just like my text, I can click on it once and I can move it. Okay, pretty smooth, easy to use. Same with using your initial line, your initial box. Over here on your left side, I'm going to click select role. I'm going to select buyer initial. You can display a date and time if you'd like. I'm going to place initial, which is my option. And now click down, bam, initial. Smooth, easy to work with. Don't overthink what it is. Same with.
Okay, but and when you said that, and this is in your app file for 112 Smith Street, would it not just put your guys' initials in there? Or is that going to be the next step? You're going to show us what initials go in there?
Well, no, so this is a signature initial field. So when you send for the signature, they'll be prompted to put their initial in there.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. It's just adding that element so that it does allow for it.
Got it.
Yes.
Drew, show me, I'm sorry, I must have missed it for a split second. Show me once again how you bring this page, this PDF into
the editor?
To the editor, yeah.
Yeah, of course. So all I did was, so my documents are on the left side. I selected legal description.
Correct.
And from here, there's a button right here, this blue button that says edit. I clicked on it. It asked me to convert it first.
And where do you convert it?
I converted because it was a scanned in document.
Right, and where is that where it asked you to convert it? That's right. That's where I missed.
So since it's already done it, let me see if I can find another form that could.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Seriously, this one might do it. So I'm going to hit edit. See how it said start conversion right here?
Oh, okay. There you go.
And then you say start conversion. When it completes the conversion, it gives you your elements.
Okay, so edit first and then start conversion.
Yes, exactly. And it's just a button. It's nothing crazy for the conversion.
Okay,
great question. Last item to really cover, adding a signature. Select what your role is when you do your signature. You can also have a display date and time, place signature. I'm just going to put it up here. Click down, signature is added. So those are your elements. So I recommend getting in, bring up a page, try dropping elements and see how it works, and you'll get really comfortable with it.
Drew, can you do the strike the line one more time? Because I did that, but then it's only half the word. So I missed something about the proper length of the line strike.
So I clicked on single line. I'm going to put it right next to my printing, and there it is.
It strikes, but where does it start? No, to stop. Oh.
Yeah, you can adjust it. You can get the corner of it and adjust it. Click on it once, get to the edge of it, bring it back and forth. That's a good question. I've never had that question. Thank you, Isabel. So cool. So that's adding elements.
Oh, okay. Oh, wait. Oh, I got a question.
Of course, Margie.
So when you're filling in all this stuff on here, like the offer date, is that what all this junk is too over here? The text, that would be what I'd use?
Well, I mean, so this is a document. I just brought up an example, but this is a document where I would have, if you have a document that you need to add the element, that's what this is about.
Got it.
I just use this as an example, Marty, sorry.
No, that's okay. So if I'm doing because otherwise when I'm pulling up all of this to make an offer, it'll be under my purchase and sale and I'm filling it out.
Yes, got it, yeah. This is just for when it's not there present, that's all.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna close this one down. All right, so next item, let's see, I've covered elements. We kind of already covered merging documents, but I'm all about going over it again. So the next thing I normally cover is merging and splitting documents. Such an important thing and so easy to do, by the way, so easy to do. So I have all my documents on my left side, right? Up here on the left, above the documents, it says merge paperwork, okay? When I click on the merge paperwork option, it shows me the exact same stuff that's in the app file, okay? So say for instance, I want to merge my purchase and sale. I just clicked on it and all these other items just to go ahead and get them all in. Okay, so all I did was click on them. They added them to the right side. You can rename it at this moment as well. The renaming can be done at any time of any document. So here right now, you can name it as a batch, rename the batch, but I'll also show you another place to rename it. You have a lot of control. In this window also, these little green these green lines allow you to move the document items. So if I want to move my legal description up, I can click and drag it up and make it number 2. Not bad. One of many ways to move documents in AppFiles, by the way. This isn't the only way. Now that I have all my items, I'm going to click select, merge selected items. It's going to start the process of pulling them together and analyzing the documents and all that. And we have complete. I think so. Come on now. Okay. So now I have a very large document, 29 pages long. Okay, so I've merged my document. Just as easy as I just merged it, I can split it as well. So right here in the center where it says split forms, it shows you the same items, even though they're merged now, but it still has the name. So naming conventions are important. Once you name it once, it's always going to be a part of that item. Okay, so say I want to select all of my documents and I want to break them up, split selected forms. Does everybody follow me? Do I need to redo what I just went through? I don't mind doing it again.
Drew, I have a question. This is Eileen. Is there a way to just to keep the original separated documents and to also have a merged copy of them? So when you merged all those together, all the individual ones went away. Is there a way to do both?
You can copy the action, yes. You can copy, under the action button here, you can copy the merge if you'd like.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
I like what Eileen asked because there are times when I'll check all the things like you said, Eileen, and I send them as a packet to like the closing attorney. But then all of a sudden I've got this one big chunk of stuff, and and for our girl at the office, she wants everything separated. You know, Exhibit A, Exhibit B, blah blah blah. So I like the idea. So if I copy it, then it separates it over here to the side again, or?
I haven't done this yet.
Does that make sense, Eileen? Is that what you're asking? Because that's what I'm asking.
That's exactly what I was asking.
Okay.
Uh-oh. Why isn't it?
Isn't it possible that after you send it for signature, then you can break it up?
Let's select the type of. You can, yes, you can break it up. You can break it up. You can break up all docs. Like you said, most office staff actually like them broken up.
Drew, you need to click the make an exact copy, I think, or one of those. There we go.
Gotcha. Thank you. Sorry, I knew I was missing one step. I've never made a. I've actually that's a new one for me. And there. So now I have a copy of the purchase and sale, the whole package now.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarity too. Eileen, thank you for bringing that up. you know, I know the program, but how y'all interworked with the program and, you know, in situational stuff, that's what I need sometimes. Thank you. Thank you.
But you know, Drew, when you go into merge your paperwork, when it gives you that option, and when you're merging the paperwork, it has an option of making a copy there as well.
I must have missed that. Here, let me split it. Let me split one up again. Thank you for bringing that up. Split merged. Okay, so I went back to the merge option and say
use a copy. You see over there?
Use a copy.
Yeah, so you can keep the original form as is, or you can make a copy of it.
Oh, from just hitting that copy button. Interesting. I haven't used that option yet. Thank you for bringing that up, Doug. Nice. All right, so does everybody feel pretty good about merging and splitting documents? No questions? Marty?
I do have one question, but it was answered for me by another girl in my office. I didn't know how, like, to put them in order, you know,
It's the next thing I'm hitting.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. But now I do know to do it, but she told me to alphabetize it that way. I just didn't know how else you could do it.
Yeah, that's the next thing on my list here. So let's go right in. So I'm going to bring up that merged document I have of 29 pages. So there's two different ways that you can arrange the order. Okay, you can arrange it as a segment or the pages within the segment, and I'll explain. Over here on the edit page button, you have two different ways. You can organize the pages within this segment. I consider this a segment. Purchase and sale is a segment to me. It's a contained document group. So you can hit organize pages and you can move the individual page. If a page is out of order and you've scanned it in, this is a good way to move the correct order. Once you've moved the document pages within the segment the way you want it, you click Save Changes. Okay, so that's within the segment. Also, you can change the form order altogether. You can move the form order. The Change Form Order button right here, when you click on it, here are your documentation. You can move by clicking and dragging up however you need to do it. Okay, so that's the segment.
How do you get there? I'm lost with.
No, you're fine. I got you. I got you. Don't worry. So I have my purchase and sale up, right? And up here, there's a button that says Edit Pages. Okay, organizing pages right here, Isabel, is pages in that segment. So you're moving pages in the order of that segment. When you change form order, you're moving the whole entire segment to where it needs to be. And then you click Save Changes.
Go back, change order form. Okay.
Change order form. Perfect. All right, so something that we were kind of hinting on originally anyway is sending via email. So say if you have documentation you need to send for proofing, review before signature, up here on the top right where it says send via email, you have the option to send via email PDF. It also has the signature request, even though this button is slamming you in the face, but here's another option to do it. But you can send via email by clicking this, which will open a compose email option. You put in the email address for your contact. As we said, let me see if it's now an option. Well, if I had a different email address, it's probably just gonna be mine. Yeah, mine's just previously used. But if you had put it originally in for the first buyer brokerage signature, it would now be on the dropdown for you to use because it was a previously used item. So if you're sending a PDF for proofing, you could put in a message, please review, let me know what you think before I send to you for signature. So that's another option here. You can send message here. I think it's also at the top. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and send it to myself. Okay. This is sent. All right. So back to the most important thing, naming conventions. So up here at the top, you'll see there's a pencil. You can change the name of the documentation. So say if I want to name this 480 John Wesley, you can name it. Now, I recommend coming up with a solid naming convention. This comes up among all of your office managers and transaction coordinators. They always say it. We want y'all to name your documents because the exact same reason we found out earlier, they split up documents for themselves. And if they have it all named correctly, Exhibit A, excuse me, I'm just losing there. Legal description, whatever, sorry. Exhibit A, legal description. Exhibit B, listing information. Solid naming conventions is what your office managers want. So sitting down with them real quick, finding out how they want things named is very important. Every office is different. So after I've changed the name of this document, I can click the checkbox. And now this document has a new name to it. Take the time, do your due diligence. Okay, let's see if there's anything is there any item that, before I go over how to submit documents, is there anything that you would like for me to cover that's on your mind?
Drew, this is Lori. I do have a question, and maybe I missed this because I had to jump and take a call. If I want to upload, I have standard paperwork that I want to add. I have PDFs that I want to add to like my buyer brokerage or to my listing agreement, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to have to add that to each app file every time I open an app file. Is there a place that I can add my PDF forms just in my general account so that I can go pull them when I need them? Or I have to add them, like I have a special page that goes with all of my buyer brokerage agreement.
That's a little.
I have to add that I have to add it every time, and where, how do I add a PDF to this?
So you would have to add it every time, or like I cover in an advanced class, I teach people to create a buyer template where it has documents in order the way you want it, so that you would just copy the app file and go. So okay. Hop on my H&R Trainer YouTube over here and check out Beyond the Basics, the app files Beyond the Basics, where I cover exactly what you're saying.
Okay, so set up buyer templates. Okay, what about adding PDFs? I think I missed that.
It's right here on the upload file option.
Okay, but I have to do it by, okay.
And you just browse and grab that PDF to upload.
I gotcha. Okay. All right. All right.
Cool.
So it has to be done by account, by file, unless I do a template. Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly. Right. You know, I heavily recommend agents creating a template just because it makes life easier. If I'm working and I steadily am getting buyers, and I have a template for buyers, and it has my buyer brokerage, my purchase and sale, and all the different financing options already in a template ready to roll. And I filled out my master buyer template with all my information so that all I have to do is add my buyer. And then I just hit copy the moment I meet Emily. All that stuff's already in there. I write in her information as a buyer. I start importing my values. I'm way ahead of the game already, and I just met Emily, you know. So it's just something to think about. Check out that video. It's a really great way to think of how you're going to use AppFiles to make life easy, because your staff member don't see this until you turn it in. So why not make it easy on yourself? Yes, Marty.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so this is going back just a pinch, but you know, we were talking about copying. Let's say under here you've got the general paperwork.
Yes.
And I want to put it all in a packet for Campbell and Brandon, but let's just say 201 purchase sale, conventional, legal description, let's say all of that. I still want it to look just like that, but then I also want a packet. So do I copy it and make a duplicate so that I've got two of those right now under general paperwork, and then when I'm making my packet, I get rid of the first group?
So something that you can do, and well, we're really getting into this. I like this. So say, let me bring up that. So this is that merge document I have, right?
Yeah, let's say I don't have that merged document yet.
Well,
Let's,
no,
I mean, oh,
well,
okay,
I got something I want you to think about. So I
okay,
have this merge document. I want it to literally just be a merge document.
all right,
I want to change my section here
okay,
to be Campbell and Brannon.
okay,
Create section. Now I have a segmented for for Campbell and Brannon. Say I have these documents that are split up. I could name it for whoever I'm going to use it. Whatever makes this system work for you, you can make segments. A lot of people even, so for instance, say this document I want to trash. I want it out of my way. You can change this to a new section and call it trash.
oh, okay,
Make this system work for you. So now I have a trash pile, basically, that documents that, so for instance, what if it was a signature you sent out, no, they didn't get full signatures, it's invalid.
Okay.
Move it into your trash folder. And same with what you're saying about having split up documents and merge documents, you can segment everything.
so like under general paperwork, let's just say my app file looks exactly like that. And I'm gonna get ready to do something and send it to Campbell and Brannon, but in the meanwhile, I wanna make a duplicate of all that in my general paperwork first. Then I could just go to each one and say copy, copy, copy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
No, not a problem, seriously.
Drew, one more time, how did you create those tables, Campbell and trash? Oh,
So what I did was, it has to be the document itself to create the segment. So I went to, let's bring up utility information. So up here at the top under section,
Yep.
you can add a new section,
Okay.
which will pull it out to its side. You know, a lot of
Okay.
people, everybody has different ways that they use this AppFiles per office. Some people keep all of their final documentations in what's called sales docs. It just depends on how you use it.
So it takes it out of the general paperwork and puts it into that new file.
Exactly, John.
Gotcha.
Yep. And that, I mean, that's more of an advanced, but I like it. I like it a lot. This is great. So of course I'm harping on fill in as much as you can, whether you're using your master buyer template, your lender information, or even just coming up here and filling in your information about the app file itself. Okay, fill in where you can. Now, one item I did realize when we opened up the purchase and sale I did not cover is your special steps editing. So I'm going to bring up my purchase and sale, and I'm going to go to my special steps, because this is a new thing that's been added recently. Say I want to add special steps here. When I click on this box, I'm clicking on it, it brings up my options. Now, something that's very new is this button right here that says show. So for the longest time, I've always had to instruct agents to copy and paste or write in your special steps. Now, AppFiles is providing these steps to you. So when you click on show, you will see your special steps. And you can search them on this line right here. It's pretty awesome. So it's already there. So say, I mean, I'm just going to go with the septic system because that sounds pleasant. And I'm going to, here at the bottom, it says insert at beginning or insert at end. It's just telling you what order it's going to be added to your special steps. That's all. So I'm going to insert at beginning, and you'll see my septic's been added. Can't beat that. I love that they added that feature. And then after you're good, you have all your special steps in there, you save changes. And there it is. Okay, I'll go over it one more time. Special steps.
And you can just click on that box again if you want to write something custom yourself.
Absolutely. I can click on it right here. I can press enter, write whatever I want to write. Great question. Thank you.
Drew, I have one more question. What if you have special steps that you use that were given to you by an attorney or something that you want to save on there? Is there a way to save your own personal stipulations?
Under your form values. Form values. So what you would do is you'd come into form values, and I don't know, let me see what number my purchase and sale was. F20 through 201. Make it easier on myself. F201, my purchase and sale. So if I came to my purchase and sale, I go 6 of 10, and I come in here and I change my stipulations here, it'll reflect every time you use your purchase and sale.
Right. Now, I'm not saying every time. I'm just saying I have a couple that Campbell and Brandon gave me. Is there a way to save them? So maybe I'll use them one out of my next 20 contracts. Is there a way to save them in that? When you clicked on that show, is there a way to add any stipulations to what's already there?
That's a great question. Oops. No, I don't see an addition.
Okay.
But don't take that this is not a bad idea for you either. The using your form values, because what you can do is if you're not using it, you just delete it. You know what I mean? So say you add your special step here, you bring your purchase and sale in, but you know you're not going to use this one this time, you just delete it out. That's just one way of handling it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem. Because I know a few people who do that actually. They have termite bond or whatever already in their form values. And if that time that they're using this purchase and sale, it doesn't apply, they just delete it that time. So, all right. It's coming towards the end of the class. My last thing I'm going to cover is different for every office. I just want to go ahead and let y'all know this. It's the submission of your documents to your staff. So I recommend you asking your transaction coordinator or your office manager how they would like for you to submit documents. Now I'm going to go over 2 ways that 2 office managers I know use fluidly. So just so you know, I'm going to start off with the buyer brokerage. Okay. I want to turn in my buyer brokerage to my staff. Okay. It's been filled in. The signature request is done. Up here at the top, under section, I'm going to change it to broker docs. And broker docs, usually, it depends on who's checking, but they will receive an email letting them know that it's been switched over to broker docs. Another thing that you can do, now that I've changed it to broker docs, you can come down here to create an update. Now that I put it in broker docs, type in, I have added, you know, Eric's buyer brokerage, or I have submitted my buyer brokerage for Eric. And you can scroll down here and you can select your staff member. I don't want to choose Jenny, of course. Say Daryl, and you can create an update and it will give an update to your staff member that that status has happened. Get used to that interaction. Also, when you submit a contract, creating an update is a great idea to let your staff know that it is in. And if there's any little things that you need to let them know about. So that's my...
when you change it to a new pending,
okay,
doesn't it automatically send to your office?
But so that we were covering the buyer brokerage, okay?
Okay.
So yes, you're talking about the next thing. When you're submitting your contract, that's what we're talking about. Up here at the top where it says edit for the app file, I want to submit my contract now. Instead of it being a buyer and this is now, you know, whatever listing it is, I've changed it. I think it's 480, you know, 480, oops, 480, John Wesley. Yes, if you change buyers to new pending, that is you submitting to your staff members, and yes, they do receive an update. Still doesn't hurt anything to put an update in your app file if there's anything going on, or just saying, hey, yay, it's, you know, under contract, whatever you need to do. It's not a bad way to handle it. Scroll down.
How did you get that? Sorry.
No, you're fine. Let me close real quick. So contract signed, all documentation is in. You want to submit it to your staff. Up here, this edit button for the app file as a whole. I name it whatever, most staff members want it named the address. Most do. Everyone I've talked to have said they want the address because it's what they search for mostly. Also, if there's the address, make sure that FMLS number is in there. There's several staff members that search by FMLS number. But submitting my contract, I'm going to hit the drop down and I'm going to select select new pending. And that is turning in my contract to my staff members. I click Save Changes, and now Mary Grace will now get a status update that H&R Trainer has submitted for Eric Clapton. Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, this is probably a stupid question, but I've been using RDocs. I use AppFiles, but I've never used it for signatures before. When I do submit forms to my clients for signatures, where do the forms come back to? My email, or do they come back to AppFiles once they've been signed?
They're coming back to your AppFiles, but you'll get a update noting that it's been signed.
Okay, I'll get an email telling me that it's now in AppFiles. And how do I sign off on the documents? Do I have to do a signature request for myself? Like on the purchase and sale, I've got to get the buyers to sign it, but I need to sign it as well.
You can just go in there and sign.
You can go in there and sign, but you do get, let me see if I close my email. I wish I could say, I got a lot of emails.
Sorry, everyone who's already done this before.
No. It's like, that's one angle that you'd see.
But I need a revision on the signature thing too, by the way, so.
So when the signature request went out, you received a signature document as well to sign. You get a link as well.
Do I, through my email?
It's right here. Yeah, this is my example I sent to Eric. And I also received the link, please review document to sign as well.
Okay. And so I do it from my email though. I'll get an email request.
Yeah, just like what I just received there. Send yourself a test. That's my biggest recommendation for this.
Okay.
Do an example and do a test of you signing, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Drew, with the signature, so if you have documents in general paperwork, obviously you filled out your purchase and sale agreement, and then you've got a conventional loan exhibit. Then you've also, in another section on the left side, you have the disclosures, 2 disclosures, actually 3 because there's a lead-based paint. How do you get all this now in one signature? I think I know, but do you mind reviewing that one more time?
Well, your main thing is you need to merge the documents as a whole.
Okay.
You need to merge your documents as a whole to send for signature. Okay? So I merge your documents and then request your signature as a full document. Got it. I think you're overthinking it, Isabel. Really, I really do think you are.
This does not feel, this AppFiles is not organic to me at all. I know we're now pressured into doing this, but it's just, I'm nervous.
Okay, for everybody who feels nervous, I'm going to say this a million times. Act as though you're buying or selling your own home. Seriously. Go through the steps, sign yourself up as a buyer, put in your documentation, and act as though you're buying or selling your home. And checkpoint with your staff that you've done it correctly. Because once you've done that, you've got it. That's all it takes. Because after that, you're forced into using it because you've sold your own home to yourself. Okay? It really does help. I've talked to every staff member here at Harry Norman, and they've all said the same thing. They are perfectly okay with you meeting with them and checkpointing your process. That's what we're here for.
Drew, it's Jane Freeman. Regarding Isabel's question, or along that line, so we need, like if it's a seller's disclosure or community exhibit, we will already need to have gone into that document and made arrangements for the client to either signature or initial there before we merge it in and send it out. It's not, once we send it out, we can then add those spots. They need to be done prior to.
Okay, no, you can't. You can when they're merged as well because they still have the edit button to add the item. Right here.
Got it.
Yeah, you can merge the documents and still add the elements. You can. It's just
okay, that's good.
It's just when you're sending for signature, you just need to make sure the elements are there so that it's when they get the document, they're like, oh, okay, there they all are.
Got it. Thank you.
No problem. Seriously.
Drew, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Susan.
Hey, so when you're in edit mode, and let's say you're working with disclosures for the buyer brokerage, and you have like 7 pages where you want their initials. Is there an easier way, or do you go to, buyer, place element, put it on page 1, go back? Is there a fast forward on that?
Not really, because you're adding elements, really.
So you have to do it one by one?
If the page doesn't already currently have that element.
Well, the
That's thing.
disclosures don't, so.
Okay, then that would be one where you would need to hit the edit button, add the signature line for the buyer. But you mean, you saw how quick it was. I mean, it's.
Yeah, it is quick.
Yeah, just grab it.
Go ahead.
hit it, take a signature, assign it for buyer, drop the line, close the document. I mean, it's quick. Once you get used to dropping elements,
Sure.
you'll have it, Susan.
What is your recommendation for using AppFiles on your iPhone? They don't have an app, or you just?
Yeah, they don't have an app, which is painful to me because I wish they did.
Mhm.
And I think working from your phone is a little difficult. So I recommend using your browser, honestly, so you can see everything. Some people have been able to make it work. I know 1 or 2 agents who've made it work on their phone, but even that, like I said, it's 2 out of 900 agents.
Yeah.
Hey, Drew, quick question then in regards to that. So when I've had people traveling or somebody's in, they don't have their laptop, but we need their signature for something because we're negotiating.
It'll push to their browser.
I'm sorry?
It'll push to their browser still. They can still sign just fine.
On their phone?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, it's just harder to make these kind of edits on your app file.
Yes. Got it. No, that's good. Edits or something that, yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure we could use our phones.
Yeah, of course.
Drew, this is Isabel with another question. I tend to email many times first all the documents to my buyer for the review of the offer before they get the signature link.
Mhm.
So, and if you can just show me how to do that.
Oh, of course, absolutely. So right now I have a merged document right here that we were going with Campbell and Brandon. I'm going to open it up real quick. And over here on your top right, you actually have a send via email option, the whole document, and you can send via email PDF. When you click this, it opens up your window for an email. You put in your client's email address, which is probably in by now because you've used it once already. You put your message in, please review, prior to signature. And you scroll down and hit send message. Just as easy as that. And don't overthink it. And then, of course, it doesn't hurt anything to follow it up with a text message saying, hey, I sent you the PDF, of the contract. Please review it before I send for signatures.